I was always rushing. From the moment I could walk, I was moving, always towards something, always away from something, never still, never at rest, never enough. My father would watch me work in the marketplace, and he would shake his head, not in approval, in something like sadness. "You're burning yourself up," he said to me once. I was maybe 20 years old, young, strong, certain that intensity was the same thing as strength. "That's the only way to succeed," I told him. He looked at me for a long moment. Then he turned away, like he was looking at someone he didn't recognize. The Nile ran through our city like a vein of life. It had always been there, before me. It would be there after me. But I never had time to really look at it. I was too busy, too driven, too hungry for the next thing. My mother would call me to dinner, and I was already gone, already thinking about the goods I needed to move, the clients I needed to meet, the opportunities I was missing while I was eating. Amara, my wife, she would hold my hand while I looked past her at the marketplace, smiling at me while I calculated profits in my head. "Be here," she would say softly, "just for a moment. Be here with me." But I couldn't. The moment was never enough. There was always something more important waiting. I moved goods faster than any merchant in the city. I made deals before other traders could even assess the market. I was always 3 steps ahead, always winning, always pushing forward. And I was exhausted. Not physically exhausted. You can recover from that. I was exhausted in a way that sleep couldn't fix. Exhausted in a way that no amount of success could satisfy. Because the faster I moved, the faster the goal moved too. There was always more, always next, always not enough. My brother, he was different, slower, more deliberate. He would spend hours by the river, just sitting, looking at the water, not doing anything, not accomplishing anything, just being. I used to mock him for it. "You're wasting your life," I said to him. He looked at me with a sadness that I didn't understand then, but I understand now. "No," he said, "you're wasting yours." One morning, I was rushing through the marketplace as usual, moving fast between stalls, calculating, assessing, pushing forward, and I tripped. A simple thing. My foot caught on something in the dust. I fell hard. My goods scattered everywhere. My dignity scattered with them. I lay there for a moment, stunned. And in that moment of stillness, I heard it. The river, its constant gentle sound, its unhurried flow, its eternal presence, moving steadily, peacefully, reaching its destination without rushing. I got up, collected my goods, continued on. But something had shifted, something small, but unmistakable. That evening, I didn't go to the marketplace. I sat by the river. Amara found me there as the sun was setting. "Are you sick?" she asked. "No," I said. "I'm just tired." She sat beside me, not saying anything, just sitting. We watched the water flow past, unhurried, constant, patient, and for the first time in 20 years, I stopped rushing, just for a moment. But it was enough. It was enough to make me wonder what I might be missing. That night, I couldn't sleep. not because my mind was racing with deals and calculations. For the first time in decades, my mind was still. And in that stillness, I realized something. I didn't know how to be still. My body didn't know how to rest. My mind didn't know how to stop. I had spent my entire life running, and I had forgotten what it felt like to just be. The next morning, I woke early, but I didn't rush to the marketplace. Instead, I sat by the river. The sun was rising, the sky was turning from black to indigo to gold, and the river was just flowing, same as it had yesterday, same as it would tomorrow. An old man was sitting nearby. I had seen him before, around the marketplace, tending his modest stall, never rushed, never worried, always peaceful. He looked at me. "First time?" he asked. "First time for what?" I said. "Sitting still," he said, "with the river." I didn't answer, but he was right. Most people, he continued, they fight the river. They try to swim against it. They try to force their boats faster than the current will carry them. They're always struggling. He pointed to the water. But the river, it never fights. It just flows, and everything yields to it, eventually. I watched the water move past us, so simple, so obvious, yet I had never really seen it before. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. He smiled. "Because I see myself in you. 20 years ago, I was like you, always rushing, always hungry, always burning." "What changed?" I asked. "The river," he said simply. He sat in silence for a while, not uncomfortable silence, just quiet. The kind of quiet where you can hear yourself thinking, where you can hear the world around you. "There's a lesson the river teaches," he said finally, "but you have to be patient enough to learn it." "What lesson?" I asked eagerly, already wanting the answer, already rushing again. He laughed, not unkindly. "If I tell you, you won't understand. You have to learn it yourself, in your own time." And then he left. For the next week, I went back to the river every morning. At first, I went to figure out his puzzle, to solve the riddle of what the river was teaching. My mind was active, searching, analyzing, but gradually something shifted. I stopped trying to solve it, and I just watched. I watched the water flow over rocks. The rocks didn't fight it, they just accepted it. And the water found its way around them, shaped them, but the water never changed, never forced, never became frustrated. I watched the birds land on the water. They didn't force their way down, they just rested, and the water held them, gently. I watched the current move, not straight, not always the fastest way. Sometimes the water would eddy and circle. Sometimes it would seem to go backward, but always it moved forward, toward the sea, toward its destination. And slowly, I began to understand. The river wasn't rushing to get somewhere. The river was simply flowing, one moment at a time, one gentle push after another, not anxious about the destination, not frustrated by obstacles, just present in each moment. And that presence, that was what was carrying it forward. That was what was so powerful. I realized I had been wrong about everything. I thought patience was weakness, but watching the river, I saw that patience was the ultimate strength. The river had moved mountains, not by forcing, but by flowing, consistently, gently, persistently. For the first time in my life, I understood what the old man had meant. "Be patient," Amara said to me one evening. She had noticed the change in me. "I'm learning," I said, and I was, day by day, moment by moment. The river was teaching me to stop fighting, to stop forcing, to stop rushing, to simply flow. But learning to be patient, it cost me. In the marketplace, my competitors noticed the change immediately. I was slower now, less aggressive, less willing to push deals through at any cost. A client would come to me. I used to close the sale immediately, pressure them, move fast. Don't let them think too much, just seal the deal. Now, I would listen to them. I would take my time. I would only sell them what they actually needed, not what would make me the most money. My profits dropped. People came to me and asked what was wrong. Was I sick? Was I losing my edge? "No," I said. "I'm just learning something." But I could see the doubt in their eyes, the judgment. My brother, the one I used to mock for sitting by the river. He came to me one afternoon. "I hear you're not the fierce merchant anymore," he said. "I'm learning patience," I said. He smiled. "You'll lose money doing that." "I know," I said. "You'll lose status," he continued. "I know," I said. "You'll lose the respect of the aggressive merchants. They'll see you as weak." "I know," I said. And I did know. I had seen it happening. The other merchants were already passing me by, taking the deals I turned down, growing wealthy faster than I was. "Then why?" my brother asked. I looked at him. "Because I'm no longer sure that's what I want." That month, a severe drought came. The river that had been teaching me patience, it ran low. The water supply became scarce. People who had been taking water for granted suddenly were desperate for it. And I realized something terrible. All those years I had been rushing to accumulate. I had been taking for granted. The river was there. The crops were growing. The marketplace had goods. I assumed it would always be that way. But it wasn't. Things change. Seasons turn. Fortune shifts. And all my rushing hadn't protected me from that. All my accumulation couldn't prevent it. A young merchant came to me in desperation. He had moved too fast, taken too many risks, made bad deals in his rush to succeed. "Can you help me?" he asked. I could have turned him away. I could have let him fail. That's what the old me would have done. More for me if others failed. But the river had taught me something different. "Yes," I said, "I'll help you." I spent time with him, showed him how to slow down, how to assess, how to make deals that could withstand change. It cost me money, my time, my energy, but watching him understand, watching him slow down and find peace, it was worth more than any profit. The drought passed. The river began to flow again. But something had changed in the marketplace. The aggressive merchants, many of them had overextended. Their quick deals had turned sour. Their rapid accumulation had become rapid losses. They were desperate now, broken, bitter. But I had survived. Not because I had rushed ahead of everyone, but because I had slowed down, because I had built relationships, because I had made deals that could last. One of the aggressive merchants approached me. I recognized him from years before. He had always mocked me for my growing softness. "How are you still standing?" he asked. "I learned to flow," I said, "instead of fighting." He didn't understand, but he would. Eventually, that's what patience teaches you. Eventually, that the things that seem strongest, the things that rush forward with the most force, they're often the most fragile. They break easily. But the things that flow gently, that accept obstacles, that don't fight the current, they endure. I watched the river carefully during that drought. It didn't panic. It didn't force. It just adapted. It became smaller, but it kept flowing. It kept moving. It kept finding its way. And when the rains came again, it was ready. It flowed strong and pure because it had never stopped accepting, never stopped moving, never stopped being itself. That's the real lesson the river teaches, not just patience, but resilience, the ability to persist, not by fighting, but by accepting, by flowing, by trusting that if you keep moving forward, you'll reach your destination, even if it takes longer, even if it's slower, even if the aggressive people pass you by in the short term. Because in the end, the river wins, not because it fights the hardest, but because it flows the longest. Years passed, and I learned what waiting really means. It's not passive. People think patience is about doing nothing, but that's wrong. Patience is about doing the right thing at the right time. It's about action guided by wisdom instead of fear. I spent those years by the river, every morning, every evening, sometimes sitting in the middle of the day when the light was brightest. And I watched, I observed, I paid attention. I watched the plants grow, not fast, but steady, putting down roots first, building strength, and then flowering and bearing fruit. I watched animals live their lives. The birds knew when to fly and when to rest. The fish knew how to move with the current. Everything in nature had a rhythm, a timing, a patience that was far older than any human ambition. And slowly, I began to move differently in the marketplace. I would meet with clients, and instead of trying to close the deal immediately, I would ask questions. I would listen. I would understand what they really needed. Sometimes, I would tell them to come back later, that now wasn't the right time, that the price would be better in another season. My peers thought I was crazy. "You're leaving money on the table," they said. But I wasn't. I was making decisions that would sustain me, that would keep me in business, that would keep me honest. And something remarkable happened. The clients came back, not just because I had good goods, but because they trusted me, because they knew I wasn't trying to exploit them, because my patience had become a kind of integrity. My business grew, not in the frantic way it used to, but in a way that felt solid, real, like it was actually worth something. Amara and I grew old together. She would sit with me by the river sometimes, and we wouldn't speak, just sit in that comfortable silence that only comes after decades together. "You're happy," she said to me once. "Yes," I said, and it was true. For the first time in my life, I was actually happy. Not excited, not driven, not constantly wanting the next thing, just content, at peace. I took apprentices, young merchants who were hungry like I had been, and I tried to teach them what the river had taught me. Some of them understood immediately. They would sit by the water and feel something shift inside them. Others, they resisted. They thought patience was a waste of time, that they could move faster than the river flowed, that they could beat the system. I didn't judge them. I had been them. I understood the hunger. But I would tell them the same thing the old man had told me. "Be patient," I would say. "The river is always there. It's always teaching, but you have to be willing to listen." I watched one of my apprentices, a brilliant young man. He tried to rush his success. He was talented, but he had no patience. He would make fast deals, push too hard, never give anything time to develop properly. And then, one day, it all collapsed. A deal went bad. A client sued him. His reputation was ruined before he was 30 years old. He came to me, broken. "I should have listened," he said. "Yes," I said, "but now you can learn." I showed him the river, and slowly he began to understand what I had understood. The river doesn't reward speed. It rewards persistence. It doesn't reward force. It rewards adaptation. It doesn't reward intensity. It rewards constancy. A merchant can rush ahead and make money quickly, but eventually the river will teach them a lesson. A drought will come, a market will shift. A storm will destroy everything they've built quickly. But a merchant who flows patiently, who accepts the rhythm, who builds steadily, they will survive. They will endure. They will still be standing when everyone else has fallen. I realized that patience isn't about doing nothing. It's about doing the right things in the right sequence. It's about understanding that there are seasons. There are times to plant and times to harvest, times to move forward and times to rest. The people who fail, they're the ones who try to harvest before planting, who try to rest when they should be working, who fight the natural rhythm of things. But the people who succeed, the ones who last, they're the ones who learn the rhythm, who accept it, who flow with it. That's what the river taught me. Not just to be patient, but to understand, to be wise about timing, to trust that if I do the right things at the right times, the rest will follow. I'm old now, and I look back at my life. The years I spent rushing, the money I made but couldn't keep, the stress I carried for no reason, and then the years I spent learning patience, the genuine peace, the relationships that actually meant something, the legacy that would outlast me. And I know, without question, that patience was the right choice. Not because it made me the most money, but because it made my life worth living. I sit by the river now, and I am very old. My hands shake, my back is curved, my eyes don't see as clearly as they once did. But my mind sees more clearly than it ever has. I've spent more than 50 years by this river, 50 years of mornings watching it flow, 50 years of understanding that I am small, that my lifetime is like a single raindrop in all this water. And somehow, that doesn't frighten me anymore. It comforts me because I understand now what I couldn't understand when I was young and rushing and hungry. I understand that I'm part of something larger than myself, that the river was flowing before I was born, and it will flow long after I'm dead, that my small choices, my small acts of patience, my small moments of acceptance, they're all part of this larger flow. The aggressive merchants from my youth, most of them are gone now. Some died wealthy, some died poor, but they're all gone, and nobody remembers them. Nobody cares how much money they made or how fast they moved. But the river remembers everything. The river has recorded everything in its flow, and the people who learn to flow with it, their legacy continues. My children understand patience now. They learned it from watching me, not from my lectures, but from seeing how I lived, how I chose, how I waited. My grandchildren are starting to learn it too, some of them naturally, some of them only after their own struggles. But they're learning. That's the gift of patience. It passes through generations. It becomes part of your family, part of your culture, part of your way of being in the world. I think about what it cost me to learn this lesson, the money I didn't make, the status I didn't achieve, the empire I didn't build. But I think about what it gave me: peace, integrity, a life lived honestly, relationships that meant something, a legacy that will outlast me. I think about the people I helped by being patient, the apprentices I trained, the young merchants I saved from making mistakes, the clients I protected from bad deals. All of those people, they're living better lives because I chose to slow down. That's another gift of patience. When you stop rushing, you have time to help others. You see their struggles. You can offer wisdom. You can prevent harm. I've made fewer deals in my lifetime than the aggressive merchants. But the deals I've made, they've lasted. They've built something real. I've made less money, but the money I've made, I've kept it. I haven't had to live in fear of losing it. I haven't had to watch it disappear in bad investments made in haste. I've lived a smaller life, but I've lived a fuller life. I've actually been present for the moments that mattered. With Amara, with my children, with my grandchildren, the aggressive merchants. They were always rushing to the next moment, missing the one they were in. I finally stopped rushing, and I finally found my life. Sometimes young people come to me. They're burning with ambition. They're hungry. They're certain that speed is strength. And I see myself in them. I tell them about the river. The river never rushes, I say. Yet it moves mountains. It never forces. Yet everything yields to it. It never fights obstacles. Yet it always finds a way around them. Some of them understand. Some of them don't. That's okay. The river has time. The river is patient. The river will teach them eventually. I sit here by the water now, and I feel no regret. I feel gratitude. Gratitude for the drought that forced me to slow down. Gratitude for my wife, who loved me through my transformation. Gratitude for the old man who first told me about the river's lesson. Most of all, gratitude for the river itself, for being constant, for being patient, for being an eternal teacher to anyone willing to listen. The river taught me that the greatest strength isn't in rushing ahead. It's in flowing steadily. It's in accepting what you cannot change. It's in adapting to obstacles instead of fighting them. It's in understanding that there is a natural rhythm to life. And when you align yourself with that rhythm, everything becomes easier. I'm ready to let go now, to return to the earth, to become part of the flow that I've spent my lifetime learning to appreciate. And I know, without question, that my children will continue, and their children, and the wisdom of patience will flow through them like the river flows through the land. The river never asks for recognition. It just flows. And it transforms everything it touches. That's the greatest gift it gave me. Not patience exactly, but the understanding that transformation doesn't require force. It requires presence. It requires time. It requires acceptance. And when you have those things, you can move mountains, not by pushing them, but by flowing steadily around them until they become something beautiful, something shaped by time and patience and love. The river keeps flowing, and I keep sitting, and we're still teaching each other, and perhaps that's enough.